So let's say you are an expert registered at contactsbook.media. You have perhaps a variety of journalists, podcasters, freelance writers, and other content creators coming to you, and they're interviewing you for free for their publications. But what happens if you get a paid speaking engagement? Do you just rush in and accept it, or would you like to get a higher fee than you might otherwise? We're talking today with Andrew Vine, the Chief Executive and founder of the Insight Bureau and author of Honestly Speaking, about how you can make sure you get what is coming to you, what is owed to you as an expert registered on our platform. Andrew, it's great to see you.
Good to be here.
So obviously there are a lot of people who've, say, written a book, or they are very senior in their organizations. They get these invitations. How big a business is this actually for them to become speakers?
I mean, expertise is something that people pay for all of the time. It just seemed a little odd on occasions where people, as speakers or doing briefings and helping organizations make good decisions and to do business, are sometimes not rewarded the way they should be. And this is something we need to address, isn't it?
Absolutely. You need to be able to know your worth. And I tend to find that experts in their field are experts first and sell themselves actually rather poorly many times.
Well, it is sometimes very much like that people are very expert in their field, but they don't have that sense of how to position themselves. They're very good at what they do, but they're not very good necessarily getting the most out of that opportunity. So, this is something that we can help to address.
Absolutely. Now, on occasion, you actually hear people say that they get so many speaking requests at conferences, let's say, that it's almost become a full-time job.
Yeah.
And yet, when you then get approached by a conference organizer or some other owner of an event, you tend to get underpriced, right? It's in their interest to
Well, you can't blame them for having a go, right? And this is what I'm saying. I mean, organizations pay pretty well for most business services that they need. So why not this too? I think there is a tendency for people to say, oh, we don't have budget, so we can't really afford to do this. But at the end of the day, it's a business decision like anything else. And if you have the expertise, and that expertise is somewhat scarce, it's not everybody can deliver the same thing. This is the key. The more that you are really one of a kind, or you have that very special thing to contribute, then people will pay within reason.
Yes. So here are some of the excuses that I'm sure you must have heard if you've been on the speaker circuit. Yeah. The first one, it'll be good for your publicity.
Oh, yes. We get that all of the time. But the more that someone has already built up that reputation to be asked for in the first place, kind of means that they don't need the profile quite as much as they think you do,
yes.
Right? So this is the thing. So yes, it can be good for your profile, especially if you're doing things like writing a book and things like that. But most of us are just getting on with our lives, and this is just part of what we do for a living. I talk about the world being full of professional speakers and semi-professional speakers. Not everybody makes the entire living from speaking, but these days we all have portfolios of businesses and activities that we do that get paid. This is just one tranche of that,
yes,
really.
Indeed. Some of the other excuses that you might have heard. Sorry, we do have budget, but it's very small and we've only got a couple $100. Come on, we've been in a relationship for so long. We've known each other for so many years. Can't you just do that?
Well, sometimes when, if the relationship is that good and strong, they shouldn't be nickel and diming you. They should be looking after you as a valued customer or a valued partner. I think that there are times where companies are legitimately, under pressure with budget. Yes, of course, we understand that. But at the end of the day, if it's important enough, then I think a compromise can be reached.
Yes. Now, then there are the nuts and bolts. And I guess this is the other thing that often gets missed. Let's say you get a good speaking engagement, and let's say that they actually pay you well. If you don't have somebody to manage that for you, you then actually position yourself as a fairly small-time operator. If you're the one negotiating the fee on your own, you're the one writing the invoice, and ultimately you're the one chasing for payment. Often that doesn't actually position you as the expert.
That's very true. I think the magic words are, go and talk to my agents, and that just changes the game overnight. Having worked with speakers of all kinds over these 1.5 decades now, it's very true that those are magic words. It makes people take the whole process seriously. And if nothing else, it is outsourcing to people who know what they're doing, have the skill and experience to actually, have fair negotiations. I mean, let's be clear, it's not just about maximizing the amount of money. It's about ensuring that the opportunity is correct, that it's going to be managed correctly. There are other parts of the outsourcing service, but one of the critical elements is, of course, outsourcing that deal making.
Yes. Well, let's delve into some of those details. Let's say you are persuaded, yes, you ought to get paid for your expertise, for your speaking engagements. Yes, you understand why just doing it for the publicity may not be good enough. What do you then do? So let's say you as a contactsbook.media member have a speaking engagement. You pass that over to Andrew. What do you do?
So before that happens, of course, you have to be responsible for looking after your profile. But once there's an inquiry, it can be handed over to us and we can take a look at that and negotiate the fee. Like I say, it's a process where we, make sure that we understand what the objectives are. That's really important. Make sure that everybody's on the same page with that. We understand, what is involved and what a good outcome will be in order to be able to price that properly as well. Well, it could be from a few thousand to tens of thousands. It does very much depend on the event, on the person, on what you need to do. These are the three factors. I mean, there are going to be occasions where we discover that the kind of work involved is quite extensive. It might just seem like it's half an hour job, but by the time you prepare for this, you have to have meetings, and maybe there's follow-up activity and other things that they kind of expect. We explore all of that just to make sure that things are done fairly. We do put a price in, and we don't know for sure whether this is going to be well accepted or whether the people are going to be sucking their teeth saying this is way too much. But the joy is that we, as an intermediary, can have that conversation, right? Without any offense. We can't, we should say, look, this is the situation. We can talk about what you need to achieve. We've got the person who can do this. How do you value that? Can we not find a compromise?
So it's actually a conversation. It's not just here's the price, take it or leave.
No, because I think this is the big misunderstanding of the event and agency business, that it's not just a booking service. If it were, I think a machine could do it, right? It's about having the conversations and exploring exactly what's involved as well. I mean, very well from the work that we do together as an event moderator and a conference anchor.
Yes, because sometimes the organizers do ask you to attend rehearsals.
Well, that's right.
Conference calls with the others.
You know all about that. I mean, especially when it's chairing and moderating, for example. It's not always about speaking. It's about helping a particular session run well with someone who understands the topic very well and can pull it all together. You find that's pretty open-ended sometimes, and what people expect, it starts to get a little bit unreasonable, and you say, well, hang on, this is going to take like 3 lots of meetings and, going to be there all day as a working member of the team, essentially.
Yes.
So you have to kind of bear all of that in mind.
Plus, then there's other things like the class of airfares that you might enjoy, and when are you going to be put up for this engagement?
Well, that's right. Of course, it all gets a little bit more complicated when travel's involved. I mean, if it's just here, just down the road, it's quite simple. But it does get more complicated once you have to factor in, for example, travel time. I mean, it's a different proposition just popping down the road to Shenton Way and then back again in the morning. You're done and dusted within a few hours.
Yes.
But you have to go to Hong Kong or Kuala Lumpur or somewhere. Yeah, it's going to take up an entire day, if not 2, if it requires an overnight stay. We get into all kinds of, problems, of course, with people saying, oh, it's our policy not to pay or not to pay business class or whatever it is. Well, that is always going to be a negotiation. But we can also factor that into the fee just to make sure that it's all done as an inclusive package.
Yes. At the end of the day, though, let's say the conference manager or whoever it is a fairly tough negotiator. Do you ever walk away from these, or do you then say, well, a bird in the hand is better than 2 in the bush?
Ultimately, the decision has to be with the speaker. We're not going to make decisions unless we're given very tough, tight parameters to work within. And clearly, if someone's saying, oh, we've got $200, well, we'll probably, yes, we know that we should be walking away. But if we press on a little bit, sometimes we find it's a factor of time. It's a factor of, as I say, scarcity. Who else can do this? Sometimes we can push that into a reasonable compromise. We never really know for sure how much people have got. I mean, this is sometimes when you pitch a price, you just have to, swallow hard and give them a price. But again, the joy of working through an intermediary is that it's not as black and white. It's not take it or leave it necessarily. There's another conversation going on. That doesn't mean that, the speaker's going to be offended by an offer that comes too low. And we can get in there and say, okay, look, let's just talk about this, because we're all in this to get a good outcome, right? So let us have that conversation. So it's easier to have with a third party.
So ultimately, even if you have an agent, you still have the control.
You do have the control. Absolutely.
Andrew, thanks again for coming in. It's great to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Andrew Vine from the Insight Bureau. And if you are an expert registered with contactsbook.media, you have an agent in waiting, an agent at large, you might say. If you receive paid speaking inquiries, don't just settle for negotiating this for yourself. Who knows, you might be selling yourself short, or perhaps there are other things that you haven't quite seen in your negotiation. Position yourself as that expert and be sure that you get compensated fairly beyond just the publicity. In order to avail yourself of Andrew's services, all you need to do is send your paid speaking engagements to us. Very simple. Email us at service@contactsbook.media, or click on the live chat button in the bottom right corner of the website, and we will get back to you, and Andrew will help you get the best deal possible.